Hey, what's up, fellow van builders? It's Scott back in the van doing some electrical. That's been the theme of late. And today is actually a good day to be in the van because it's ugly in the North Dallas area. It's hot. We're in mid-March and it's hot. It's over 80 degrees. Wind's blowing like you're out in the Sahara Desert. It's nasty. It's a good day to check your cooling and see whether or not everything's working. So you may be able to hear in the background, I got the 12 volt AC going full blast. And one of my contentions with that Douglas unit is it just shoots the fans. The fans don't or the directional jets don't articulate very well, and it shoots it straight down, which for its purpose, which is kind of like they call it I think a cab air conditioner, parking air conditioner, kind of like a parking heater. You can put it on heavy machinery and it shoots straight down at you where you're working. So they've been sold into the van business and they work okay. This one does cool, but I got a Scirocco fan back there in order to blow the cool air up this way, and then of course got a Maxxair fan rocking right now to exhaust things. So I think if you crank the temperature up another 15 degrees, you know, where you get into the heart of where Texas likes to live, this is not the right state to be in the hot summertime. Definitely not the right state to be in. So yeah, be nice to see if I get the BTUs to crank a little bit higher on that AC unit. That would be nice. And some fans that are a bit more directional that push not only down but out to the front more. So with this AC unit, I probably have to get one more Scirocco fan to try to blow more of the air to the front part of the Sprinter van. So anyway, it's a good time to test those kinds of things before you get out in too hot of weather with your new van build and see whether or not everything is working appropriately or the way you'd planned it. And some of it's like, listen, it's like rolling the dice, a bit of a Yahtzee, right? Particularly when you're using 12 volt. It's not like it's going to take you down to ice cube weather. So inside of the van, we're not fully closed in yet. So I would imagine with vapor barrier in, walls up, we'll see a cooler environment than where we're at today, in my van anyway. So, some things I'm working on. These are the overhead lights that I picked up quite a long time ago. I think they're Thalassa, chromy looking bezel. So this is what they look like. And there's just a small 2-wire coming off the back of that, and then a bezel. And so you don't need a really large hole, and that thing will tack right up to the ceiling. So there it is. There's your positive and negative there, and then the bezel goes over the top of it. First, you would put screws down on either side. Make sure you've got a hole large enough to bring the wire through where you're going to connect it up with your system, and then the bezel that goes on it. And this is manual turn on and turn off plus dimming with your hands. So each one of these lights, and I got 10 of them, can do that. So I think they're cool. So I'm going to run the wires up that channel and then out and around just like this is, and over to the Blue Sea DC attachment point. And that will come all the way around down here and light up this switch bank. And I'll give myself plenty of extra wire because that switch bank's gonna move out there at the end of the galley. So I'm gonna see how much wire I can fish through here. Okay, I've made myself a bit of a wound looped end, which will go on here as I pull it through. And then all of this wire, black, positive and negative, is ready to unspool as I pull this down. pulling that wire down. And here's the thing to learn. This is the sort of fiberglass fishing line that allows you to pull line through a wall. Look what the edges are tearing off of right here, the plastic off of it. So it's going to be important to put some sort of wire protection around these wires and fish them back so that all the way through that wall so that it's protected. And I'm talking about something like this, right? So I'm going to do that, carefully do that to protect these wires as we're driving around. But here, you should be able to pull this through, I think. Almost I lost it. Hopefully I didn't lose it. There she is, coming out right there. There. All right, so that's through. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of wire to go down and over, but that's just the nature of it. I could probably go straight up from there when I box in that window and put a frame around that window, but I kind of prefer with such a tight window that I've got all the flexibility I need for tight end framing and not have to worry about those wires. So that's kind of my plan at the moment. So we're through, and I fished it along back here. Some very sharp edges as well, so you're going to need to have that protective wiring covering this as well. And I'm pulling it out with plenty, as you can see here, so I can go all the way out to the edge of the galley and then have some extra line to work with. So next, just on top to pull my wire to the Blue Sea distribution panel, and I'm giving myself extra here on both sides. So I'm going to snip it about right there, and then I'll wire that up to the panel, and we'll see if we can get this fired up, ready to go. All right, she's fired up. So it's interesting, the battery when I first turned it on was running at 14 volts. But I've turned on some 12-volt lights, and I got the Maxxair fan on, and it's come down just a little bit. But this bale of wire is fired this whole system up, right? There's a bunch of extra here because this is going to pull all the way out to the end of the galley. And with some lever nuts, see if I can describe this. So I powered up the switch panel with these two, right, that go to this and go up to the distribution panel for DC power. And then I made a jumper wire over here for grounds. So one ground right now, which is this spool of wire, goes all the way over to that water pump over there. And then the hot, so I needed a bit of a bus bar situation for the grounds. And then the hot is on a spade connector right up under here that goes to that first switch. So there's open connectors here. My intention, so a spade connector goes on there, and I just pushed it on. So this switch right here is going to be dedicated to the water pump. You hear that go on? That's awesome. This switch over here, I'm going to make for lights, because if I'm coming in the slider on this side, I want to be able to just reach over and grab that and hit the light switch. This is the pump, because it's going to be a little bit closer to the galley on the inward side. So I've got a light switch I need to dedicate. I got the pump over here. I think right next to the pump, probably I'm going to put the water heater. Anyway, one of these three will be the SureCal Chlorifier water heater that's underneath the deck, because it has the ability for a 12-volt power to heat up the water if the van's not running. Normally that SureCal Chlorifier would heat up the water just by glycol running through the engine and heating up the water. But when you're parked for an extended period of time, you can use a 12-volt power supply to also heat it up. So anyway, that's cool. Oh, and the other thing I attached and turned on is the dome fan that's in here. So you press this button and lift it up. And then to activate it, obviously, just hit the button. And that's gonna exhaust the shower. Now there's a light attachment that goes on here and a sleeve, but that's gonna be dependent upon ceiling height. So I'm just gonna kind of wait on that. And everywhere I'm using these lever nuts because, you know, I'm hooking this stuff up. I don't want it permanent. I need to mount things in a certain way, out of the way, right? So I'm gonna make sure I have maximum flexibility with these lever nuts. They're a little bit more money, but you can move them around. Just pop the lever back here, right? Pop the lever back and it shuts the bus bar off for that lever nut. So they're very helpful. Anyway, that's the fan. Close it going like that. All right, so just 4 lights will be on the front switch, and they'll be the front, kind of front of the house lights, right? And so out here is the beginning first light, and I've got them coming around here with lever nuts so that I could connect them. So there's black to black, but then there's another black, red to red, and that other black and red go to the next light with a 3-way lever nut, black to black and black, white, red to red and red. Come around over here to the next light, same thing, black to black, red to red, but then the black and red go down here. This is your switch wire, all the way down here, along here. Black is hooked into here as a ground, and red goes in here. Again, another spade connector, sorry for the wires. Another spade connector going in straight there. That's the first position switch. So if we throw the first position switch, yeah, baby, we got lights. All right. So the intent is first position switch is lights for the front of the coach, of the van. Second position, not hooked up yet, is going to be those 4 back there. And I think this third position will be the 2 lights that are going to go underneath the overhead storage area that's right here. So there'll be 2 lights under here that'll be connected to that third position switch. Even though with these lights, you can dim and turn them off with your hands, supposedly. Yep, look at that, sweet. So you can customize as needed. Love it. A lot of freaking wires. I'm telling you, there's a lot of copper here. And there's more to come. All right, second segment here of the lights. There's the back doors, and we've got these one-to-one connections with the positive and negative coming in with here, where we do the 3-way lever nuts to connect this light and then move along. We move along here. In this case, I went all the way down to this one. 3-way lever nuts, connected that, then connected this with 3-way lever nuts, and then as before ran this series, this circuit all the way down, all the way over to the switch. So then negative goes into my sort of quasi-negative bus bar, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way lever nut. I got space for, looks like one more. I added a jumper here from this lever nut on the negative. And then again, spade connector straight in here on this second series of lights. So now I'm thinking we should be able to click this and get lights in the back for the over the bed lights. Let's see. Shazam! All right, so we got that. We got the main sort of hallway lights in. And so lighting is done, and from a wiring perspective, we're set. All right, under the van, thinking about electrical. I actually spoke a little too soon because I do have, this is 110 and 12 volt that'll heat up this Sure calorifier in addition to, the antifreeze from the engine. So I got, this is a 3-way hot water heater. And so you get free heat from the antifreeze from the engine when you're running the engine. It's not free, you're still burning petrol. But then up here, we've got 12 volt and 110, and I actually need to connect that. And so the plan is to connect that off of there. I'll run it along here. I'm gonna go through this frame hole. And this is actually where I wired in on another video an external 110. So the hole's there. I'm gonna just come up under here and bring the wire back up and connect it up to, a fused connection. So this still needs to be done for the hot water heater. And then also I'm gonna put a dump valve in on the lowest spot for this tank. So it'll have some options. So I can evacuate the gray water from the shower, either through the lowest gravity feed, or I can put a dump valve. I don't know, either here or here. I can put a dump valve in here. So I got actually 2 more things. And as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I may want to put some lights. Actually, now that I've kind of moving on the electrical side, I was thinking about putting some rear-facing lights up here. So when you're in the back of the van, with these doors open, you can turn those lights on, click them on, and you can obviously illuminate everything here, which I think would be great. So that's now a pretty easy matter of just finding the right lights and installing those. So I'm thinking I got like 3 things to go here. And before we finish up electrical, this side of the van might be nice to have a couple of trail lights up here pointing this way. And then on the far side of the van, maybe a rope light or something underneath the awning pointing that direction. There's a Fiamma awning over on that side. So, and hell, why not put some of those straight down, I can't remember what they call them, but they point straight down, the lights to illuminate the ground down here that are kind of fun. Put a couple of those down there as well. So maybe 4 more switches of things that we could add to the electrical system. So listen, you could go on and on and on with the switches and things, but at some point you got to button up electrical. Interesting is, how do you leave some level of access? So if you wanted to add some external lights, you could do that. As an example, so I just went and took you through 3 or 4 additional things I'd like to switch with electrical juice. And this Scirocco fan is not set up for just a flip of the switch. You got to crawl up onto the bed and hit the go button, right? You could probably, you could wire this thing so that when you got into the van, you could just hit the switch that's down by the galley on, the slider when you walk into the van, and then it turns this fan on. Is that needed? I don't know. Can I add it later? Probably, as long as I sort of plan for it. But anyway, electrical's coming together for sure. I'm getting down to the end and starting to think about plumbing, because I got to get under the van plumbing done just to feel good about it, make sure it's operable. before I close in the shower, and I do the internal portion of plumbing to move the water, cold and hot water, around the van. So that's it for this one. This one was all focused on 12-volt electrical lights. Managed to do the Maxxair dome fan while I was at it and play around with the 12-volt water pump and got those hooked up. So more to come. Thanks for being with me. Hope you got some education out of this, or maybe got a good laugh and enjoyed yourself along the way. Would love for you to hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and come back to Vandingo for more videos on the van build. Be good. Bye-bye.